Hey, welcome, Loudoun soccer parents, and maybe there's some players on this Zoom meeting as well. I really appreciate your interest in our Loudoun Soccer College Night. My name is Dave Bruchero. For those of you that I don't know, I'm the Director of College Placement here with Loudoun Soccer. I've been with the club for about 12 or 13 years, and previous to joining Loudoun Soccer, I was a college coach, mostly on the women's side, where I was an assistant, but also a head coach as well. So hopefully this evening I'm going to go over some different things and we'll talk about in a second. But hopefully you'll find it informative and it will be helpful in your understanding of college soccer and rules and the recruiting process. So you can see the agenda listed there. So those are some areas that I'm going to talk about and discuss. Um, Looking at a college, looking at forming a pool of colleges and how to do that, and factors to think about for players, the differences in scholarships at the Division One, two, and three level. I'm going to go through what players should be doing freshman through senior year in terms of the recruiting process and how they should be communicating with college coaches. I'll go over some basic NCAA rules and regulations that I think are really important, some important dates that everybody should know about, um, how to properly communicate with college coaches, what a proper player profile looks like, the importance of sports recruits, which Loudoun Soccer has recently partnered with, and how that is helpful in recruiting. And then at the very end, I will take any questions that you have, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys submit. You can do that just by submitting the questions in the question box below at the bottom there. So before I get into some of those areas, this next slide basically um, is an example of players that have played with Loudoun Soccer or NVA and are either currently playing at these universities or will be playing next year at these universities. And you can see here there's a lot of variety and different levels of play with the colleges that are listed there. We've got players that are GA players. We've also got a GA Aspire player there in Jolene Ma. And like I said, schools that are different, some that are bigger, some that are smaller, and different levels as well. What I tell every parent that contacts me that has questions or wants to discuss the college recruiting process and with players, I tell them the same thing. If a player really wants to play in college, they can play in college. It's about finding the right fit. And sometimes what I think is frustrating to players is they have aspirations of playing at the Division One level, and sometimes there's not opportunities there. But a lot of times, opportunities for players are at the Division Two or the Division Three level, and sometimes a player has to um, understand that that's the best opportunity and the one that they need to take if they want to continue their career and play soccer in college. Um, but the point is that for every player out there, if they're proactive in the recruiting process, if they are reaching out to a number of different coaches, if they're reaching out to coaches at different levels, there will be opportunities for them. And there is a college for every player out there. So scholarships. Scholarships at the Division One, two, and three levels. The maximum amount of athletic aid scholarships at the Division One level for men and women is 28. That doesn't mean that every program that's Division One has 28 scholarships. In fact, there are many programs that don't have 28 or will not have 28 scholarships, and may have more like 14 or 16 to 18. The amount of scholarships and whether they're fully funded or not is based on how large the athletic department is, how well supported the soccer program is. There's a number of different factors that go into it. That number is a major change compared to years in the past, and this was just changed about a year ago. It used to be that for women, the maximum amount of scholarships was 14, and for men, it was 9.9. So obviously, there's been an increase in the amount of scholarships available for men and women at the Division One level. But again, understand that that's probably not the norm. Only the big, what we call Power Five conferences and schools like Texas and Oklahoma are probably going to have 28. Probably the average for most Division One schools is, like I said, going to be between 14 and maybe 18. For Division Two, There's not much change compared to how it's been. For men, it's 9, and for women, the maximum amount of scholarships is 9.9. And so when I say maximum, again, there's some Division II schools where maybe they only have 5 scholarships. Maybe they have 6 or 7. Again, it's based on a number of different factors and how well they're supported. But that's the maximum amount there for Division II. And then at the Division III level, there are no athletic scholarships. However, if a player is being recruited by a Division III school or is interested in Division III schools, understand that there are Division III schools that offer academic aid packages and need-based packages. And sometimes those packages can be very attractive. What I would advise players, if you are being recruited by a Division III school, at some point to bring that up with the coach and ask the coach if there's any possibility to get aid, whether it's academic or need-based aid, and explore those angles of getting aid. Because again, it might be a good situation even at the Division III level. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about and get into is what players should be doing freshman through senior year. There's not a lot of recruiting going on during a player's freshman year. You do hear crazy stories of top 10 schools really being active and recruiting kids as early as 8th grade, but that's not the norm. Most of the time they're recruiting and the evaluations will be done sophomore through senior years by college coaches. So for players that are freshmen, what I would advise you is just to work as hard as you can as players to be the best players that you can be and continue to focus on development and working hard on the field to improve, and work as hard as you can in the classroom to get the best grades that you can get. If you are a stronger student, there can be more opportunities in college soccer. And so what I mean by that is if you're a 4.0 student, you may have the opportunity to be recruited by schools in the Ivy League or in conferences that have strong academic standards like the Ivy League. If you are not a great student, then a lot of times the recruiting at those schools will end right away because you won't be admissible. You don't have grades that are strong enough for the coaches to get you in. So your pool of schools where you may have an opportunity to be recruited at is going to be smaller. So getting good grades, getting the best grades that you can only help in the recruiting process and can only open up more opportunities for you, as well as possibly having the opportunity to earn an academic aid scholarship, which I mentioned before. So sophomore year is really the year when players need to start thinking about whether they want to pursue college soccer and whether they want to continue their career in college. And if the answer is yes, then players need to start thinking about and need to start putting together a pool of schools that they're interested in at that point. And I think it's important during your sophomore year that players cast a wide net. So putting together a list of schools that is anywhere from 20 to 25 schools, I don't think that's too big. I think it's important for players to reach out to schools at different levels so that you have opportunities your junior and senior year. Don't just focus on 5 or 6. Don't just focus on top Division I schools, because you don't want to be in a situation in your junior year where you've written these coaches for a year, but you're not getting much responses, and now you've got to start from scratch again. So early on in the process, it's really important to, like I said, reach out to a number of different colleges, even if you think, I'm really not that interested. If there's something maybe that interests you, maybe they have an academic program that you're interested in or whatever, throw them on the list, reach out to the college coach and see what happens in the next year or two. So developing a pool is important sophomore year, and then starting to reach out to college coaches by email, letting them know where you're going to be playing, letting them know your list of showcases and tournaments for the year. Most college coaches probably are going to be evaluating a lot of players during their junior year, but there will be college coaches even during their sophomore year that will get out to events and start looking at sophomores as well. And then the last thing I have there is starting to think about, or maybe starting college visits when you can fit it into your schedule, as well as ID camps, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So creating a pool of schools during your sophomore year, there's a couple things to think about in terms of what is the right fit for you as a player. I think the academic fit is important. So I mentioned this before. If you're a very good student, you're probably interested in a very good academic school. So you need to consider that as you're forming a pool of colleges and as you're starting to reach out to college coaches. Does that school fit your academic needs? Is it a school that you think you'd be happy with academically? That's something to consider. The campus size. Are you looking for a school with 5,000 students where maybe the campus is more compact and the class sizes are smaller? Some players really want that. Other players don't really care, or maybe they want a bigger campus with maybe a major football program, and they don't care if classes are large. So something to think about. Where would you be most happy? Urban versus rural campus. Again, some players want to be near a city, want to be in a city with everything that the city offers. Schools like GW, American, BU, Boston College, Penn. Other players prefer a campus maybe that has more of a campus feel, not near a major city. Again, maybe bigger, maybe with a major football program, schools like Virginia Tech, JMU, other schools like that. You got to figure out where you lean and again, where you would be most happy. Division One, Division Two, or Division Three. Now talking about kind of the soccer side of it, where would you fit best? What level is the level that you can play at? What level is going to be a good fit for you? The cost, usually a factor with all parents. It's important to have that conversation with your parents early on. So again, you're not reaching out to these schools for a year and then realizing your junior year after one of them maybe writes you back that the cost is too much and your family can't afford it. You want to kind of have an idea of what's reasonable as you start to reach out to these programs and making sure that your family can afford it. And then the last thing goes along with the Division One, two, or three level, opportunity to earn playing time. For some players, maybe competing for national championships, playing at the Division One level is important to them, regardless of whether they see playing time all 4 years or not. For others, maybe impacting the program is really important, or maybe deciding on a Division Three school where they can play right away and impact the program or turn a program around is important. That's something to think about. And I think having a conversation with the college coach, if you do go on a visit and if they are recruiting you and asking them, where do I stand in the recruiting process? Where do you see me? Where do you see me impacting the program? That's how I think you can get a better sense of where the coach sees you and whether there's going to be an opportunity to play or not. So getting back to the timeline, we talked about sophomore year. So junior year, for the most part, is about starting to narrow down schools. I will tell you, I have coached players and seen players who weren't really recruited until their senior year and didn't commit to a school until their senior year. And there are players that are now playing in programs where it worked out. And it didn't happen till late in the year, late in their high school career. I think that's unusual. A lot of times, especially on the women's side, a lot of the colleges are certainly at the Division One level done usually by a player's junior year. But there are stories where players can find opportunities later, even into their senior year. So that's important to keep in mind as well. But junior year, like I said, is about narrowing down your pool of 20 schools, if you're still at that, or 15 schools, or whatever it is, trying to get it down to 5 to 10 schools or smaller than that. And players can do that by thinking for themselves, where would they be most happy after they start visiting schools, maybe after they start speaking with college coaches. But also, it's a two-way street. The college coaches have to show interest into the player as well, right? So there's got to be an opportunity there at the school, and then there's got to be interest from the player. And that's kind of how players should be narrowing things down a little bit. As well as staying proactive and continuing to email college programs throughout a player's junior year. This is really important. Even if a player is talking to 2 or 3 schools, my advice is keep emailing colleges that are of interest to you, even if you haven't heard from them much. Until you commit to a school, it's important to do that because crazy things happen in recruiting. Sometimes programs lose players to the transfer portal. Sometimes major injuries happen. So a coach might only be looking for 3 players in a recruiting class, and then all of a sudden it changes to 7 players because they're losing players or whatever. The other thing that can happen is you might be running a coach throughout your sophomore year, not getting much response, or into your junior year, not getting much response. Um, and maybe it's because the coach has evaluated you and wasn't really impressed with that play, but then they see you late in your junior year at an event and you really do great, maybe because you've developed, or maybe because it was just a tournament where you really just had a sharp tournament. And now that coach all of a sudden is reaching out to you because his evaluation has changed a little bit, or her evaluation has changed a little bit. So again, these types of things happen until you commit to a school. Keep looking at showcases and coaches that are registered for those showcases, and keep expressing interest in those schools. And then going into late junior year and senior year, again, it's about narrowing down your list and ultimately, hopefully, committing to a college after you've visited different colleges and after you get an offer from a college coach. So the college coach calls you up or emails you and says, hey, we have a spot for you, or we have a spot with you, and we can also offer you a little bit of athletic aid, or whatever the case may be. We want you to join the program. If the player feels confident that that's the place that they want to be at, that's when a verbal commitment happens. When that happens, I think it's really important that players do two things. They have to keep working hard in the classroom to keep their grades up. Every player that plays Division I and II must be eligible to play. They have to go through the NCAA clearinghouse before they step foot on campus their freshman year. And the NCAA clearinghouse basically makes sure that the player is eligible. You have to have a 2.3 GPA, and you have to take 16 core courses in high school. For most players, it's not an issue, but sometimes for students that struggle a little bit, it can be an issue. So making sure, obviously, that you graduate and finish out your senior year with good grades is important. And the second thing I think that's important is on the field, working hard to prepare for your freshman year in college, where it's going to be a higher level of play, continuing to grow as a player, starting to work on fitness and preparation for your first preseason. Those are things that are really, really important. So switching gears here and talking about some important NCAA rules and regulation. June 15th is really, really a big and important date that everybody should know about. June 15th of a player's junior year, so the end of a player's sophomore year. Before June 15th, college coaches cannot text, call, email, or receive phone calls or meet with players on or off campus, except for at ID camps. If you're a freshman and you're not at an ID camp, a coach can work with you and can see you face to face and coach you in that setting. After June 15th of a player's junior year, coaches can at that point receive phone calls from recruits. They can call recruits, they can text, they can email, they can offer athletic aid. So the lines of communication change dramatically between college coaches and recruits after June 15th of the beginning of a player's junior year, going into a player's junior year. So if you've reached out to college coaches a number of times, you know that they've been at your tournaments, and you're not getting emails. That's because that's the rule, right? They can't, if you're a sophomore, they can't write you. But after this date, you'll probably get a good sense of what programs are interested in you. If they've been at a number of your games and they send you an email or they call you, then obviously there is genuine interest in you. If you don't get a lot of emails or phone calls, don't give up. Like I said, keep emailing college coaches throughout your junior year until the end of your junior year, even going into your senior year, and keep looking for new opportunities. August 1st is another important date. Coaches can't make on or off campus contacts with recruits except at ID camps. But after August 1st, going into a player's junior year, coaches can meet with players on campus visits, and they can have face-to-face conversations with them on campus and off campus as well. There's two types of visits in the college coaching world, unofficial visits and official visits. An unofficial visit is when a player goes up and visits a campus on their own or with their parents. They get in the car, they travel to the campus, they spend the night in the hotel room, they view the campus themselves. If it's after August 1st, maybe they set up a meeting with a college coach and they meet with the college coach. All the expenses are being covered by the family. So they're paying for their own hotel room, paying for their transportation, any food that they buy is all on the family. So no costs are being incurred by the athletic department or the soccer program. Unofficial visits can happen anytime. An official visit can only happen after August 1st, and that is when part or all of the costs are being covered by the athletic department or the soccer program. So if a player gets offered an official visit by a college coach, it's probably because the college coach is recruiting them and they have interest in them. They want to bring them into the campus on the weekend, maybe have them watch the team play, put them up in a dorm room, have them spend time with the team. And again, paying for things like meals and paying for other costs as well. That's an official visit. And a lot of times official visits also happen after a player commits to a school. And the college coach wants to bring them in to, again, have them meet other players that are committed, have them spend more time with the team. A lot of times official visits are used in that way as well. So now looking at what players should be doing in terms of communicating with college coaches and how to communicate with college coaches. Really, really important. I mentioned this before, that players starting in their sophomore year, when the team is going to a showcase or tournament where college coaches are present, and certainly for showcases and even tournaments, just about every tournament and showcase has a registration link where college coaches can register for the event. And all players have to do is just get on the showcase website. They should easily be able to find the college coach tab, and then they can see who has registered for that event. Players need to be checking that, and any programs that are of interest to them, they should email the college coach, the head coach or the assistant coach, let them know that they're going to be at that event as early as possible. I think it's important players are checking that website even 3 weeks in advance, a month in advance. That's fine. It's also important that they check that website a couple days before, because a lot of times college coaches won't register for the event until a day or two before. So it's important to do that. So any event that they're at, if programs are there and they're interested in those programs, they need to send them an email, and I'll go over this in a little bit in terms of what it should look like, expressing their interest in that program and letting them know that they saw that the college coach was on the list, that they're going to be at that tournament, and they would love for the college coach to evaluate them in one of their games. When they send that email, it's important that the player includes obviously the team they're playing for, the year that they are graduating, their jersey number, and their contact information. They need to double check and make sure that's accurate. So with their email address, their cell phone number. And the reason why that's important is if the college coach is impressed with their play and they do end up recruiting the player, they need to obviously be able to reach the player. So making sure that that contact information is correct is important. So this is a sample email to a college coach. If a player is reaching out to a college coach for the first time, it should look something like this. Dear so-and-so, I play for this team. I'm graduating this year. I'm interested in your program for whatever reason. Include GPA. A lot of schools these days aren't looking at SAT scores. A lot of times it's not a requirement anymore, but sometimes it still is. So if you have an SAT score, an ACT score, including that is important. And then attaching a player profile as well. And then other important information is the one listed here right below it. Tournament information. So many of our teams right now in Loudoun soccer are closing in on the end of league play, or we're at least halfway through it. We're going to be playing in showcases and events in November, December, and January, and in the spring. So now is the time to start letting college coaches know where you're going to be playing. Once your team has been accepted, let them know that. And then as you get closer to that event and you know your schedule, send them another email and let them know your schedule so they can see you play. This is what a player profile should look like. This should be in every team brochure. I'm sure everybody has this in their team brochure. Again, important information: year you graduate, jersey number, what position you play. It's okay to throw that in. Academic information, contact information. Maybe a brief list of honors that you've had from high school or whatever. Putting that in is okay. And again, updated tournament information is really, really important. So, and that would be on your team brochure in front for many of the teams. But anytime you send a college coach an email, you can include the player profile as an attachment. and that can only help. Sports Recruits. So Sports Recruits is a company that Loudoun Soccer partnered with a couple years ago, and we feel that Sports Recruits has really been beneficial to our players in Loudoun Soccer and players interested in the college recruiting process. Every player that's a 2011 through 2007, 2008 player has a free account through Sports Recruits. And at that account, they have an online platform. And at that platform, the player can view all the colleges that are out there across the country. They can quickly access information on the college, uh, what the college is all about. They can quickly access information on the soccer program. They can learn about the history of the soccer program, and they can quickly access who the college coach, who the head coach is, who the assistants are, and what their email addresses are. So that saves a lot of time. Instead of having to go and search on the internet and go to each school and get on their website and find the email addresses of these coaches and then trying to track that and remember that, at Sports Recruits, it's all there on one site. So players can quickly email college coaches, 20, 30 programs across the country, because it's all right there. And then there's other things that Sports Recruits does that's really good. First of all, they can help you create video, and you can upload those videos to your emails that you send out through the Sports Recruit platform. You can also see what college coaches have responded to your emails, what college coaches haven't responded to your emails. So from an organization standpoint and from a time management standpoint, Sports Recruits is really, really helpful. If anybody has questions regarding Sports Recruits, our contact is Robin, and her email address is there. You can also reach out to me, and I'm happy to help in any way if you have any questions regarding Sports Recruits. So college ID camps and clinics, I talked about this briefly before. They can be helpful in the recruiting process, absolutely. The thing about college ID camps for the college coach is it's a different type of evaluation for the college coach. Instead of seeing the player play with their team in showcases and tournaments and games, a lot of times they get to work with players, because a lot of times college coaches are running sessions and practices and involving the players. So they get to be around the players more, obviously. They get to know their character, how hard they work, and they get to see them maybe playing against players that they hadn't played against before. So it's beneficial for the college coach. For the player, they get to know the college coach a little bit. They get to know what they're like if they are involved in the sessions. They get to see what their coaching style is like. They get to meet them, obviously, before and after the ID camp. If the ID camp is on the college campus, it's obviously a chance for them to visit the campus again. So for a lot of different reasons, college ID camps are good. And I can tell you that ID camps have helped players in the past. And sometimes players don't do well at showcases, but they do well at ID camps. And sometimes the reverse happens. Maybe they don't do well at an ID camp, but a college coach sees them with their team and they do better there. I'm sure there's players on this call that have gotten a lot of invitations, or parents have. Just about every college has an ID camp. Players can't go to every single ID camp out there. My advice would be to pick maybe 2 or 3 or 4 ID camps that you can fit in your schedule. And those should be programs that are of interest, obviously, to the player, and that are realistic in terms of having a realistic opportunity to play there. Maybe you're already being recruited by that college. You want to make sure that it's the right fit and you're not wasting your time going to an ID camp. Recruiting services. So I'll talk about highlight videos here in a second. It's not necessary to pay for a professional recruiting service. There's a lot of companies out there. Just know that players can create their own highlight videos pretty easily through YouTube or even through Sports Recruits. And it can be very cost effective or cost them no money at all. A good highlight video should be 2 to 4 minutes roughly in length. I don't think it's a good idea to send a college coach a whole game, because college coaches don't have time to watch a whole game. So they probably won't watch it, and that won't be beneficial to the player. What you want to do is send a video, like I said, that's roughly 2 to 5 minutes, and find clips of things that you do well, athletically, technically, whether you're a good 1v1 defender, whether you score goals left and right, whatever you do really well as a player, it's important to include that and include different aspects of your play. A lot of times college coaches will look at videos and they'll look at look at it as an initial evaluation. And if they, like what they see from the player, then they'll go out at an event and watch the player with their own eyes as a second evaluation. So absolutely, they can be helpful. And sometimes if a player lives further away from a school, like let's say a player in Loudoun is looking at a school on the West Coast, and that coach doesn't have the recruiting budget to come to a lot of showcases on the East Coast, sometimes they will look at video a little bit more strongly, to evaluate that player. So again, videos for sure can help in the recruiting process. And just wrapping up here, it's important for players to understand that behavior can affect recruiting. College coaches are looking for talented players, but they're also looking for players that are going to help their team and they're going to help their team culture. So understand that when college coaches are watching players at tournaments, they're looking at everything. They're looking at how players interact with their teammates, how they interact with their coaches, how they interact with the referees. I think it's fair to say college coaches don't want to bring in bad apples. They don't want to bring in players that are going to be disruptive to their team culture. They want to bring in good players that are positive and that are going to help their team culture and help their team win. So that's really, really important to understand that they're looking at everything. If you do reach out to college coaches through emails, make sure you spell their name right. Make sure you make it a specific email. These are little things that can affect recruiting. So that's important. And the last thing here, I think many of you are aware of this. We are running a boys college ID camp December 16th through 18th at the Loudoun Soccer Park. You can see the list of college programs that are going to be represented there. I'm also going to add 1 or 2 more college programs that will be involved in this camp. If you have any questions regarding the camp, feel free to reach out to me. The girls camp, I'm working on that, and that will likely be held in January. And I'm going to be finalizing that in the next couple of weeks. So you'll, I'm sure, see that on the website. We will post that in a lot of areas. So that is it from my end. I will open it up to any questions that anybody has. Don't hesitate to reach out to me because that was a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions? Or if you're more comfortable, you can call me or email me directly. So one question just came in. Will we be able to get the presentation? Yes, we are taping this presentation and we will put it up in the next week or 2. And we will let you know when it's up on our website, for sure. Can freshmen attend the Loudoun ID camp? Yes, it's open for ages 14 through 18. So yes, freshmen can attend the ID camp. You can sign up for the ID camp at the Loudoun Soccer website. All that information is there under College ID camp. And if you have trouble finding it, just pop me an email and I'll send you the link. What level should you be playing at for boys soccer? I'm not quite sure I understand that question. There's some players, obviously, I showed on the slide that have gone on both the girls and boys side and played at the Division I level, at a high level. We've had players that have played at a very high level at the Division III level. We've had players that have played not at super high levels, but are happy and found the right fit and, are spending the next 4 years playing soccer. So I don't know if that's the question, but we've had all different types of levels with our Loudoun and NBA players. Yes, the ID camp does not allow 2029 grad years. I am aware of that. A couple other people reached out to me about that. We are working on fixing that. So we will do that. If you have any trouble with the ID camp and registering, just let me know. Okay, good questions now coming in. Do you think it's beneficial to have a soccer social media account? Really good question. I probably would have said 3 years ago, no. But I know that just about every player now, every teenager has a social media account. I don't think it can hurt. Are college coaches involved in social media? Yes, some more so than others. I would just say as I mentioned in the last slide, that if players are going to use social media, make sure they use it in the right way. So maybe they put out a post saying, hey, I'm going to be at this showcase. Come watch me play. If it's a social media post to college coaches or whatever. Um, Not putting out something that's inappropriate is my point on social media can affect recruiting. So that's really, really important. I don't believe there's a cost to use sports recruits. I believe that's part of your fee to be a part of Loudoun Soccer. But I will check on that. But believe that that's the case. Okay. The question is, if you're a sophomore attending ID camps, based on the presentation, they won't receive emails or communication until after the June date. Is that correct? Should you reach out to college coaches? So yes, that is all correct. Because of the rules, June 15th is the first date where college coaches can correspond by email to players, June 15th of a player going into their junior year. If players reach out during their sophomore year, sometimes they'll get a response that just says, thank you for your interest. Think about coming to our summer camp or our ID camp. That is legal, but that's it as far as what college coaches can respond with. But to answer the second part of your question, yes, absolutely. Players should still reach out to college coaches and email them and let them know showcases that are going to be playing in their sophomore year because they're still getting those emails. And as those emails come in, the head coach or the assistant, they're looking at where they're going, what their recruiting calendar looks like. And if they see a player is going to be there, then they're going to make a note of that. And they're going to probably spend the time watching that player play and evaluating that player. So yes, that's still important to do that. Do lower teams, non-GA, also attend showcases? I can tell you the Aspire is going to a couple showcases. I know the Unite teams are going to the Disney showcase and a couple others. I'm sure some of the other Aspire teams are doing that as well, U17 and U16. It's really up to each individual coach, but as I just pointed out, there are teams that are not in the GA that are still going to showcases. Yes. They might be smaller showcases, but they're still going to showcases. And sometimes the question comes up as to a player struggling to be seen because maybe they're not going to a lot of showcases. And my advice would be look at ID camps, sign up for ID camps where you can get in front of college coaches. And that's a way to help with that. Okay, just a couple more here. These are great. What's the level of time commitment for a Division III player? In general, Division III schools wrap up recruiting later than Division I schools. So in general, Division I schools are usually wrapping up their recruiting classes during a player's junior year. With men's programs, sometimes they go into senior year, sometimes they're a little bit later. But certainly that's a lot of times what the timeline is for women's programs. With Division III programs, a lot of times going into a player's senior year, they're still recruiting seniors. A lot of Division III programs are, not all of them, but many of them are. So I would say really until March or April of senior year, there are many Division III programs that they're still looking for players. So club brochure is a team brochure that every team should have. Managers or somebody should be responsible for putting that together. This person that asked me that, if you want to pop me an email following up, I'm happy to send you the team that I coach, my team's brochure, so you can look at it. But teams are responsible for putting that together. I can send you a template so that managers or somebody can hand out team brochures if you're going to showcases where college coaches are going to be at. Is it helpful or detrimental for an athlete to play for their high school program? Ooh, that is a good one and a tough one. I don't have an issue with a player playing with their high school program. I know that I think it's important for a lot of players, not everybody, but I think that a lot of players enjoy playing for their high school team. I don't think it hurts players in the recruiting process. I know there's some clubs, maybe and some coaches that encourage players just to play for their club team because of the conflicts with club soccer in the spring. So that's really kind of based on the coach and the club. But For me, I don't think it hurts to play high school soccer. And I don't think if you asked most college coaches, they would say that it's a negative playing high school soccer. Okay. Well, thank you for your time again. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me by email, or you can call me anytime. I'm happy to help in any way. Again, I appreciate your time. And as I mentioned before, this has been taped, so we'll get this up as soon as we can for anybody that missed it, or if you were watching this and want to review it, you can do that as well. So best of luck with the rest of your seasons, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.